All right, folks, we just got back from the bank. We've been out today, and that's kind of what this episode is going to be about, some of the good, the bad, and the ugly that's going on with banking here in Thailand. Usually I kind of have these type of videos in the members area in the Thailand Survival Guide. However, YouTube says that there's a lot of interest in banking right now in Thailand. So I'm going to give you all the issues kind of one by one that have cropped up in the last year, 2 years, and my experience with them, what I know about them, what I've done to mitigate them, and how they might affect you. Like I said, we just got back from one of my banks today. We've been wanting to come here for a while. This is called the Whitehouse Parrot Farm. It's a cafe, just a cafe. They got coffee and cakes and that kind of stuff, but the best collection of parrots that I've ever seen anywhere. Red ones, yellow ones, pink ones, gray ones. The gray ones are my favorite. Gray with a red tail, the lovely plumage. I don't know, they also have turtles, parrots and turtles, and some fish. But really a neat place to come get a cup of coffee and just look around at all the different parrots. They come right up to you through the cage. Anyway, we'll look around as we talk about this. But the banking, there's been several issues. Let's start with issue number one. And that has to do with SIM cards. This may be the older of the issues, the one that's been around the longest. And basically what happened with this is your SIM card that you opened your online banking with needs to match your name and your phone number. The information has to jive. They found 2 million people that the name on the SIM card, name from the SIM card, did not jive with the account. And they gave people some advance warning and said, look, you've got to get this straightened out one way or the next. I think what a lot of it was, what some of it might have been, out of 2 million names. In fact, we just went through this with Lon. You might have had the same SIM card for 10 years. You'll hear this from people. I've had the same SIM card for 10 years, never changed it, same number, but the bank's saying it's no good, or they're suspending my account. You know, the way that some clerk at the kiosk at the mall or wherever worked that entered that information 10 years ago might be a letter off. Maybe they put your middle name instead of your first name, or your, I don't know, could be a million different kind of mistakes. We just went through this with Lon and her ID card. Her ID card was one letter off from her passport. It was a big thing. We had to get a new ID card, new passport, the whole thing, because one letter was off in her name. And I think probably that's the case with some of these. I've had I didn't have any trouble. Oh, that's beautiful. I didn't have any issue with my SIM card. I've never had a suspended account because of that. So the name on my SIM, the number must have matched my bank at least. So no problem there. The pies, the cakes, the drinks look pretty good. But anyway, this SIM card issue is not new. Like I said, most of these that I'm going to talk about are not brand new. In fact, I looked back, I think the first one of these that I brought up was last October in the members area. And I did a follow-up, I think in February or March. So they've been around for a while and festering for a while, but I think they're catching up with certain people. Most of what you'll hear about some of these are from tales of woe from people. People had their account suspended. And I think a lot of that stems from people that get in a habit of just paying with things with their bank app, without the card, without cash, without a backup. And for that reason, I guess that brings me to one of the goods, because you'll hear these tales of woes, you'll hear these issues, you'll decide maybe something that's a draconian issue and maybe not good for society. You'll decide that, but decide with all the information, because I think a lot of this has to do with kind of the nature of the beast in the times we live. Thailand has the highest in the world per capita for electronic transactions. So what that means, I know there's 1 billion people in India and more than that in China, etc. And of course, they have big numbers. But for the 70 million people that are here, that per person, it's a huge number here. So they're going to face some of these issues, and they're going to have to deal with some of these issues as they happen, and maybe prevent fraud, prevent hacking, prevent theft, things like that. So some of this, I think, will stem from that. But you'll hear people that they had their account suspended and now they don't know what to do, because the only way they've ever bought anything is with the electronic transaction. It is a very good system. It works pretty good. And if you have your phone with you, with your bank app, you can pay for anything. You don't need a wallet. You don't need an ID. You don't need a credit card or a bank card. And you definitely don't need to carry around cash. You just scan and pay. And that's a daily thing here. And for that reason, I think that's definitely one of the goods. The cards, the bank cards have the chips in them. I mean, they have, I get a text message now. Anytime there's a transaction in or out of my account, I get a text message. I'm prompted for OTPs, which are, they send you codes. Just today, I wanted to transfer some money between different banks, and I had to put in an OTP. They send you a text message on your phone. You have to enter that. There's a lot of security. I think the security is actually pretty good, and I think they're trying to enhance that, and they'll probably get to the next level with that. But some of these things need to be ironed out first, like the SIM card issue, and make sure everybody's name and phone number on their SIM is what the banks is what's registered with the bank. So somebody can't make a clone of it, or somebody can't make a fake you and take your money out of the bank. But anyway, the next issue, second issue, I guess we'll just call this one Bangkok Bank, because most of this issue is kind of revolves around Bangkok Bank. And the big first thing you'll see, they just basically come out and said tourists can no longer open bank accounts there. That's right. Tourists can no longer open bank accounts at Bangkok Bank. So what's the big harm in that? I mean, do you really need a bank account? I understand why people coming here, if they're coming for a month or two, would want a bank account. I totally get it. Because, like I said, it's so convenient being able to pay with your phone, scan QR codes and pay with your phone, transfer money to people, etc. But could also be somebody coming here for a vacation, a money laundering vacation or something like that. So long-term visa holders can, tourists cannot. The funny thing is, Bangkok Bank was always, for years past, was always kind of the go-to bank for that. For, you know, some of the banks would already tell you, oh, you need a work permit, or you need a long-term visa, or you need this, or you need that, or you need a one-year contract for an apartment or a condo or a house. You need a one-year contract. You'd hear that a lot. But Bangkok Bank seemed to be the more liberal. They would hand out accounts to tourists or people that didn't have the one-year leases, etc. But now the kind of tables have turned, and there's probably some different reasons for this. One could be, this might have been, and I'm not saying this happened, I'm going to just say we're just going to put this in the bucket of if. If this happened, if there was some fraud going on, if people were having money deposited into their bank account to make it look like they had the visa requirement, which is 800,000 baht in most cases, and then the money was taken right back, if that was happening, not saying it was, then that would be maybe considered fraud, and if they found out about that, maybe that's something they're cracking down on. So I'll say if that happened, if you knew about things like that in the past, it would be more difficult to perpetuate something like that nowadays. This goes all the way back, and here again, I'm not sure this has anything to do with it, maybe just another brick in the load. But 2 years ago here, it's been 2 years ago now, here in Pattaya, it was a heinous crime, and it was members of an MC. They dismembered, I guess, another guy. They were Germans, if I remember correctly. Okay, it was a terrible crime. Everybody was caught. I think it's already been adjudicated. Here's the thing. After that, there was a crackdown on some of these more outlaw MCs here, and they went after some other people just to investigate or just to see what they were up to. And they found out, lo and behold, someone didn't have the 800,000 in the bank they were supposed to. So how did that come about? And I think a lot of that came back to Bangkok Bank and some of these maybe visa type issues where the money was in there one day and gone the next. So you could get the visa, but the money really wasn't in there. Things like that. So they're a little bit on the hot seat now, and they're not the bank anymore to go to for tourists. They are still a valid bank. They've also seemed like they had a disproportionate amount of the SIM issues, the SIM card issues, the first issue we talked about. But that really could be any of the banks. To be honest, it could be any of the banks with that. That's a countrywide type thing. Bangkok Bank probably has the most accounts. That's probably why they had the most occurrences of that. That is one of the big three banks. The big three banks here for foreigners to be able to transfer money to, and this is, I guess, the third issue, transfers. But Bangkok Bank, Kasikorn Bank, which is former Thai Farmer Bank. You may know it as Thai Farmer Bank if you were here years ago like I was. But Kasikorn and SCB, or the Thais call Thai Parrot, or Siam Commercial Bank. Okay, the purple bank. The blue bank, the green bank, the purple bank, they're the big three. And the reason they're the big three is they're the only ones up until lately that you could transfer 50,000 or greater into your account. I think Bangkok Bank and Casicorn are 2 million you can transfer in. I think Thai Parrot or SCB is 1.5 million. Okay, they're big numbers. They're big numbers. Where some of the other smaller banks, they only take 50,000 baht in from abroad. So if you're coming from Norway or Australia or wherever, and you want to send some money here for your living or to buy something, it's good to have one of those big three banks so you can send large sums of money. Now, the third issue I guess we'll get to is the transfers out when you go to buy something. The Bank of Thailand came out about, over 2 years ago. This stems all the way back from 2.5 years ago. When they first mentioned this, the first I heard of it, where transactions over 50,000 baht in country, this affects everybody by the way, Thais, foreigners, anybody that's an account holder here. If you're doing an electronic transfer with your phone, any transaction of over 50,000 baht, or 50,000 and over, I think is the way it's written, will require a facial recognition. Okay, so this is the third issue. This issue probably has more teeth than the other two combined, because it is a real thing. It will not let you take a transaction of 50,000 or greater on your bank app on your phone without facial recognition. The first time that I came across this, I was buying gold. I bought several baht of gold, and I needed to transfer. It was almost 200,000 baht, if I remember right, 150, 200,000 baht. The app said no. It said your pictures and your photos not on file. I said, well, I'll take care of that tomorrow, but until then, I just did 3 transfers of like 49,000 or whatever, 49,995. So it took me a minute instead of 20 seconds to pay for the products. It really wasn't that big of a thing. So 3 transactions came out to roughly 150,000, which is what the bill was. I just couldn't do greater than 50 at once. Okay, it wasn't that big of an inconvenience. When I went into the bank, even though it wasn't a big inconvenience, I wanted to try to do it the correct way. And they said, for foreigners, we don't have a facial recognition. This was SCB, the purple bank. But you can do a waiver. So I did a waiver. And I think the waiver was up to 200,000 I could do on one clip, which, by the way, I think that's my daily limit as well, 200,000 in a day. You can set these. You can set those on. They have a thing in the settings of the app. You can control that. You can raise that, or you can call them and say, I want to do one transaction. I'm buying a car. I want to do one transaction for $500,000 or whatever it is. You can change those. But this was the thing, the workaround for that, and then I did it. And then 6 months later, they changed it and said there's no more workaround. It's 50,000 or face. If you're a foreigner, you can't have the face. Now, at Casicorn, you can, and at Bangkok Bank, you can. They'll let foreigners do the facial recognition. I'm not sure why SCB won't. So what I've done is I've opened up a second account. We just opened up an account at Casicorn, and we just got back from there. We were there today, and that's what we were doing. We wanted the facial recognition. So I remember when I bought the bike months ago, that was back in February already, and that was a big transaction, of course. I actually transferred half the money to Lan so she could pay, and I paid for half. We had to spread it out among some accounts. So that's what I've done. I just opened another account. Opened an account at Casicorn. They have the face thing. We had Lan testing hers out today to see if it worked. I don't know, the little thing they have almost looks like a monkey face because it's 2 ears and a head with no hair. It kind of looks like a monkey face, the way the outline, and then you put your face in it and it kind of makes you look like a monkey because the outline's like of a monkey face. I don't know. That's neither here nor there, it's just an opinion. But the facial recognition is a thing. I've heard Bangkok Bank, I don't have an account with Bangkok Bank, but I've heard that it is a thing there. But I've also heard posts on Reddit and so forth that people are having trouble with it. They went in, they did the facial scan and all that, but they actually go to actually transact business and doesn't work for whatever reason. So I don't know, I can't speak to that, but I just have seen some rumbles about that. But really, there's other ways to pay for things. You don't have to pay for your phone. You can pay with a card. You can go to the bank and get a draft. I understand some. I mean, how often is it you spend more than 50,000 baht in one transaction? Maybe every month. If you have rent that's 55 or 60,000 baht, I get that. So that could be an inconvenience. But to do one transaction, say your rent's 60, to do a 40 and a 20, It takes an extra 20 seconds or something to do that. In the general scheme of inconveniences here, I don't count that as one of them. There are some, I mean, if you're living here long term and every 90 days you have to go to an immigration office and report your address, that's way more of an inconvenience than having to do 2 transactions on your phone instead of 1. That takes an extra 20 or 30 seconds. So, I don't know. To me, it's just not that big of a deal. I think big purchases, there's a lot of ways to pay for big purchases. If you're buying, and this is probably what most people are thinking, if you're buying a motorbike, a car, a condo, a big ticket thing, maybe it's going to be $1 million baht or whatever. These banks, like I just went over, you can transfer in up to 2 million baht. So just about any place you would go to buy a car or truck, they're probably going to be dealing with one of those 3 banks, generally Bangkok Bank. Bangkok Bank has always been kind of the big business bank. It's been the Wall Street bank here, the business type bank, where Thai Farmer Bank or Kasikorn was more the commoners bank, where they're getting loans to plant their crops and that kind of thing. And Thai Panet or SCB it's kind of the bank of royalty. Actually, it's why it's purple and gold. But I would guarantee you one of the businesses would have one of those 3 banks. So if you're buying a car and it's 800,000 baht, you could transfer from your home country that money right to the dealer's account in one transaction, through Wise. I just did a Wise transaction today. So some people are thinking the 50,000 applies to inbound from out of the country. That's not the case. I just did, I don't know, about 80,000 baht today. Somewhere around there. I'll show you. I just did 80,000 baht today through Wise from an account in the US to a Thai account here. They said it was going to take 18 minutes. I think it took 3 or 4 minutes. It was done like lickety-split. And the other thing to kind of keep in mind, the accounts here, the insurance on these accounts, the federal insurance, I think is only 1 million baht. So you never kind of really want more than 1 million baht in an account for long term. It's better to spread that out, get multiple accounts. So I just got the Kasikorn account. We're happy with that. And I have the Purple Bank. I have SCB. And I haven't had any trouble. So I just renewed my visa. I went into SCB. I marched in, paid 200 baht. They updated my bank book. They gave me the letter that you need. You need a signed and stamped letter for immigration. That's basically a letter from the bank manager to immigration saying, yes, he appeared here and the account's in good standing. It's not a scam or anything. Okay. That letter costs you 200 baht, about $6. And your bank book updated, you take all that in. It went off just like years before. There was no difference in any of that. So regardless of what you hear about the banking and what's a draconian measure or not, having to scan your face or not being able to get a bank account if you're a tourist or whatever, it's pretty much business as normal. And the banking system here does offer a lot of conveniences and I think a decent amount of security. And the people here, they'll make a 10 baht transaction electronically to buy a cup of coffee. It happens every day. There's so many electronic transactions. So anyway, you take away from that what you will. I just think in the general scheme of things, there really is not much of an issue. If you're trying to subvert the visa requirements, you may have an issue. If you're trying to get a bank account when you really, really don't need one as a tourist, you might have an issue. But if you're living here long term, if you've chosen to retire here, live here long term, you get your bank account, you fund it from your home country's bank through transfer services like Wise, I don't think you're going to have any issues. It's about the same as it's been. That's my experience. All right, we'll take one final look around here at the Parrot Cafe, and we'll call it a day. So we really enjoyed our afternoon here amongst the parrots. So I guess to sum all this up, is some of what you hear, some of the banking atrocities that you hear about here, are they set up to be rage bait? Well, I believe so. From my experience, I just opened an account. So I just opened a brand new account. So you can still do that living here, no problems. They verified my funds for the immigration visa, all that. Got to make sure your SIM card's okay. I mean, they are maybe ahead of the curve here. You might see some of these things being employed at a bank near you soon. Anyway, you decide. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Something else next time. But for this one, I got to go ahead and leave it off right here. And as usual, I'll thank you for watching. And until next time, bye for now.